everything. Jesus is giving a great sign in the sky to announce to all mankind the establishment and coming of his kingdom. V3 2.23.00 This morning, after I, Louisa, had almost lost the hope that blessed Jesus would come, all of a sudden, he came and renewed in me the pains of the crucifixion, and he told me, "The time has come, the end is approaching, but the hour is uncertain." And I, without paying attention to the meaning of the words he spoke, remained in doubt on whether I should attribute them to my complete crucifixion or to the chastisements. So, I said to him, "Lord, how I fear that my state might not be will of God," and he, "The surest sign in order to know whether a state is my will is when one feels the strength to bear that state." V6 2.8.04, I added, "My sweet good, as for myself, I want nothing but your most holy will. I do not look at whether I suffer or I enjoy, your will is everything for me." And he, Jesus, added, "And this is what I want, this is my design upon you, and this is enough for me and contents me. This is the greatest and most honorable worship that the creature can render me. And that she owes me as her creator, and as the soul does so, it can be said that her mind lives and thinks in my mind, her eyes, being in mine, look through my eyes, her mouth speaks through my mouth, her heart loves through mine. Her hands operate within my own hands, her feet walk within my feet. And I can say, you are my eye, my mouth, my heart, my hands and my feet, and, likewise. The soul can say, Jesus Christ is my eye, my mouth, my heart, my hands and my feet, being in this union, not only of wills, but personal. When she dies there is nothing left of her soul to be purged, and therefore purgatory cannot touch her, because purgatory touches those who live outside of me, whether completely or in part. V10 2.1.12 Continuing in my usual state, my always lovable Jesus made himself seen for just a little, and he told me, "My daughter, when one leaves everything and operates for me, and loves everything divinely, all things are at his disposal. And the sign that one has left everything for me and has reached the point of operating and of loving everything divinely, is that in operating, in speaking, in praying, in everything, he no longer finds hindrances, displeasures, contrasts, oppositions, because in the face of this power of operating and of loving everything divinely, all lower their heads and dare not even breathe. In fact, I, benevolent Father, am always guarding the human heart, and in seeing it slip away from me, that is, operating and loving humanly, I put thorns, displeasures, bitternesses, which prick and embitter that human work and love, and the soul, on seeing herself pricked, realizes that that way of hers is not divine, so she enters into herself and acts differently. In fact, the pricks are the sentinels of the human heart, and they provide it with the eyes to be able to see who is the one who is moving her, whether God or the creature. On the other hand, when the soul leaves everything, and operates and loves everything divinely, she enjoys my peace, and instead of having the sentinels and the eyes of the prickings, she has the sentinel of peace, which moves anything that can disturb her peace away from her, and the eyes of love, which put to flight and burn those who want to disturb her. Therefore, they remain at peace with regard to that soul. They give her peace, and they place themselves at her disposal. It seems that the soul can say, "Nobody touch me, because I am divine, and I am fully of my sweet love, Jesus. Nobody dare to disturb my sweet rest with my highest good, and if you dare to, with the power of Jesus which is mine, I will put you to flight." Ellipsis. V1 2.28.12 This morning, as my adorable Jesus came, I said to him, "O my heart, my life and my all, how can one know whether one loves you only or others also, my daughter? If the soul is completely filled with me up to the brim, to the point of overflowing outside, that is, if she thinks of, searches for, speaks about and loves nothing but me, it seems that too. Everything else does not exist for her, rather, it bores, it bothers her. At the most, she gives the scraps and the last place to that which is not God, as if it were her last thought, word or act for a necessary thing of the natural life. This is nothing but giving the scraps to one's nature. This is what saints do. I did it too, with myself and with the apostles, giving some dispositions on where to spend the night or what to eat. Giving this to one's nature does no harm either to love or to true sanctity, and it is a sign that the creature loves me only. But if the soul alternates among various things, now she thinks of me, now of something else, now she speaks about me, and then she speaks at length about something else, and so with the rest, it is a sign that she does not love me only, and I am not content with it. Then, if only her last thought, her last word, her last act is for me, it is a sign that she does not love me, and if she gives me anything at all, she gives me nothing but scraps. Yet, this is what most creatures do. Ah, my daughter, those who love me are united with me like the branches are united to the trunk of the tree. Can there ever be separation, oblivion or different nourishment between the branches and the trunk? One is their life, one the purpose, the fruits are the same. Even more, the trunk is the life of the branches, and the branches are the glory of the trunk. They are all the same thing. This is how the souls who love me are with me. V11 3.15.12 Continuing in my usual state, I felt a great desire to do the most holy will of blessed Jesus, and he, on coming, told me, "My daughter, Louisa, my will is the sanctity of sanctities." The soul who does my will, however small, ignorant, unknown, leaves the other saints behind in spite of their prodigies, sensational conversions and miracles. Rather, in comparison, the souls who do my will are queens, and it is as if all the others were at their service. It seems that the souls who do my will do nothing, while they do everything, because, being in my will, they act in a divine manner, in a hidden and surprising way. So, they are light that illuminates, they are winds that purify, they are fire that burns, they are miracles that make others do miracles. Those who do miracles are channels, but in these souls resides the power. Therefore, they are the foot of the missionary, the tongue of the preachers, the strength of the weak, the patience of the sick. The regime of the superiors, the obedience of the subjects, the tolerance of the slandered, the firmness in dangers, the heroism of the heroes. The courage of the martyrs, the sanctity in the saints, and so with all the rest. Being in my will, they concur with all the good that can exist both in heaven and on earth. This is why I can surely say that they are my true hosts, but living hosts, not dead ones. In fact, the accidents that form the host are not full of life, nor do they influence my life, but the soul is full of life, and by doing my will, she influences and concurs with all that I do. This is why these hosts consecrated by my will are more dear to me than the very sacramental hosts, and if I have reason to exist in the sacramental hosts, it is to form the sacramental hosts of my will. My daughter, I take such delight in my will, that in simply hearing one speak about it, I feel overjoyed and I call the whole of heaven to make feast. Imagine, yourself, what will become of those souls who do it. In them I find all the contentments, and to them I give all the contentments. Their life is the life of the blessed. Two things only do they cherish, desire and yearn: my will and love. They have little to do, while indeed they do everything. The virtues themselves remain absorbed in my will and in love, and so they have nothing to do with them any more, since my will contains, possesses and absorbs everything, but in a way which is divine, immense and endless. This is the life of the blessed. V1110.2.13 Then, having received communion, I, Louisa, was saying to Jesus, I love you, and he told me, my daughter, do you really want to love me? Say, Jesus, I love you with your will, and since my will fills heaven and earth, your love will surround me everywhere, and your I love you will resound up there in the heavens and down to the bottom of the abysses. In the same way, if you want to say, I adore you, I bless you, I praise you, you will say it united with my will, and will fill heaven and earth with adorations, with blessings, with praises, with thanksgivings. In my will things are simple, easy and immense. My will is everything, so 3. Much so, that my very attributes, what are they? A simple act of my will. So, if justice, goodness, wisdom, fortitude follow their course, my will precedes them, accompanies them, and places them in the attitude of operating. In sum, they do not move 1 point from my volition. Therefore, whoever takes my will takes everything. Even more, she can say that her life is ended the weaknesses, the temptations, the passions, the miseries, because all things lose their rights in one who does my will, for my will has primacy over everything and right to everything. V 11:11.21.15 Finding myself in my usual state, I saw my always lovable Jesus for just a little, and I prayed him, for pity's sake, to change the decrees of divine justice. I said to him, my Jesus, no more, my poor heart is crushed in hearing about so many tragedies. Jesus, enough, it is your dear images, your beloved children, that moan, cry and grieve under the weight of almost infernal instruments. And he, ah, my daughter, yet, all the terrible things that are happening now are only the sketch of the design. Don't you see what a large circle I am marking? What will happen when I execute the design? At many points they will say, here there was such and such city, here such and such buildings. Some points will disappear completely. Time is short. Man has reached the point of forcing me to chastise him. He wanted to almost challenge me, to incite me, and I remained patient, but all times come. They did not want to know me by means of love and mercy. They will know me by means of justice. Therefore, courage, do not lose heart so soon. V 12:4.8.18 Returning to the point about living in the divine will, I had been told that it was like living in the state of union with God. And my always lovable Jesus, on coming, told me, my daughter, there is great difference between living united with me and living in my will. And as he was saying this, he stretched his arms toward me and told me, come into my will, even for 1 instant, and you will see the great difference. I found myself in Jesus. My little atom was swimming in the eternal volition, and since this eternal volition is one single act which contains all acts together, past, present and future, I, being in the eternal volition, took part in that single act which contains all acts, as much as it is possible for creature. I took part also in the acts which do not exist, and which must yet exist, until the end of the centuries, and until God will be God. And for these too I loved him, I thanked him, I blessed him, etc. There was not one act that would escape me, and I would now take the love of the Father, of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. I would make it my own, just as their will was my own, and I would give it to them as mine. How content I was to be able to give them their own love as mine, and how they found their full contentment and complete outpouring in receiving from me their own love as mine. But who can say everything? I lack the words. Now, blessed Jesus told me, have you seen what it is to live in my will? It is to disappear, it is to enter the sphere of eternity, it is to penetrate into the all-seeingness of the Eternal One, into the uncreated mind, and to take part in everything, as much as it is possible for creature, and in each divine act. It is to enjoy the use, even while being on earth, of all the divine qualities, it is to hate evil in a divine way. It is extending oneself to everyone without exhaustion, because the will that animates this creature is divine. It is the sanctity not yet known, which I will make known, and which will place the last ornament, and the most beautiful, the most refulgent, among all other sanctities, and will be crown and fulfillment of all other sanctities. Now, to live united with me is not to disappear. Two beings can be seen together, and one who does not disappear cannot enter the sphere of eternity to take part in all the divine acts. Ponder well, and you will see the great difference. V12 5.20.18 Continuing in my usual state, I was saying to my sweet Jesus, how I would like to have your desires, your love, your affections, your heart, etc., to be able to desire, to love, etc., as you do. And my always lovable Jesus told me, my daughter, I do not have desires or affections, but everything is concentrated in my will. My will is everything in me. One who cannot, desires, but I can, in anything. One who does not have love, wishes to love, but in my will there is the fullness, the fount of true love. And since I am infinite, in one simple act of my will I possess all goods, which, overflowing from my being, descend for the good of all. If I had desires, I would be unhappy, I would lack something, but I possess everything, therefore I am happy and I make everyone happy. Infinite means having the power to do anything, possessing everything, making everything happy. The creature, who is finite, does not possess everything, nor can she embrace everything, and this is why she contains desires, anxieties, affections, etc., which she can use as many steps in order to ascend to the Creator, lap up the divine qualities into herself, and be filled so much as to overflow for the good of others. But if the soul concentrates all of herself in my will, dissolving herself completely in my volition, then, she will not just lap up my qualities, but in one single gulp she will absorb me into herself, and she will no longer have within herself her own desires and affections, but only the life of my will which, dominating her completely, will make everything disappear from her, and will make my will reappear in everything. V12 3.2.21 As I, Louisa, was in my usual state, my always lovable Jesus, on coming, told me, my daughter, the third fiat, my fiat voluntas tua on earth as it is in heaven, will be like the rainbow that appeared in the sky after the flood, which, like iris of peace, assured man that the flood had ceased. So, it will be with the third fiat. As it becomes known, and loving and disinterested souls come to live life in my fiat, they will be like rainbows which, as irises of peace, will reconcile heaven and earth, and will dispel the flood of so many sins that inundate the earth. These irises of peace will have the third fiat as life, so, my fiat voluntas tua, will have completion in them. And just as the second fiat called me upon earth to live among men, so will the third fiat call my will into souls, and in them it will reign, on earth as it is in heaven. Ellipsis. V15 4.923. This is why I say that one who lives in my will substitutes for all, defends me from all, and places my motion, that is, my very life, in safety. And this is why to operate in my will is the prodigy of prodigies, but without clamor, without human acclamations. It is my true triumph over all creation, and since it is a triumph fully divine, what is human remains silent, and has no equivalent words with which to acclaim the triumph of my supreme will. V17 6.10.24 This morning, having received Holy Communion as usual, I was saying to my dear Jesus, my sweet life, I do not want to be alone while being with you, but I want everything and everyone together with me. And not only do I want all your children forming a circle around you, But I also want the circle of all things created by you, so that, together with me, in the endlessness of your most holy will in which I find everything, prostrate at your feet, all together, we may adore you, thank you, bless you. In the meantime, I could see all created things as though running to form a circle around Jesus, so that each one of them might pay its homage to him. And I added, "See, my love, how beautiful your works are. How the sun, breaching with its rays, while prostrating itself to adore you, rises up to you to embrace you and kiss you. How the stars, forming a crown around you, smile at you with their sweet twinkling and say to you, 'Great are you. We give you glory forever and ever.' How the sea runs, and with its harmonious murmuring, like many silvery voices, says to you, 'Infinite thanks to our Creator.' And I, together with the sun, embrace you and kiss you. With the stars, I recognize you and glorify you. With the sea, I thank you." But who can say everything I was saying, calling all created things around Jesus? If I wanted to say everything, I would be too long. It seemed to me that each created thing had a distinct office to be able to pay its homage to its Creator. Now, while I was doing this, I thought to myself that I was wasting time and that this was not the thanksgiving to be given to Jesus after communion. I said this to Jesus, and he, all goodness, told me, "My daughter, my will contains everything, and one who lives in it must let nothing escape her of all that belongs to me. Even more, if only one thing escapes her, it is enough to say that she does not give me all the honor and the glory which my will contains. Therefore it cannot be said that her life is complete in it, nor does she give me the requital of all that my will has given her. In fact, I have given everything to one who lives in 5. My will, and I go to her as though in triumph upon the wings of my works, to give her the new requital of my love, and she must come along the same path as mine, to give me the new requital of her love. Would it not be delightful for you, if you had made many beautiful and various works, and someone whom you love placed them around you to please you, and showing them one by one, said to you, 'See, these are your works. How beautiful this one is, how artistic is this other one. And in this third one, what great mastery. And in this fourth one, how much variety of colors. What enchantment in this other one. What joy would you not feel? What glory for you?' So it is for me, more so since, having to centralize everything within her, the one who lives in my will must be like the heartbeat of all creation, in such a way that, as all things palpitate within her by virtue of my will, she must form one single heartbeat, to return to me, in that heartbeat, the heartbeats of everyone and of everything, and to bring me back the glory and the love of all things which came out from me. I must find everyone in the soul in whom my will reigns, so that, containing everything, she may give me all that the others should give me. My daughter, the living in my will is very different from the other sanctities, and this is why. Until now, the way and the true teachings of living in it cannot be found. It can be said that the other sanctities are the shadows of my divine life, while my will is the source of the divine life. Therefore, be attentive in the exercises of the living in my will, so that from you, Louisa, may come the true way and the exact and precise teachings, so that those who want to live in it may find, not the shadow, but the true sanctity of the divine life. Furthermore, since my humanity on earth was in my divine will, there was not a work, thought, word, etc., which was not enclosed in me, so as to cover all the works of creatures. It can be said that I had a thought for each thought, a word for each word, and so with all the rest, to glorify my Father completely, and to give light, life, goods, remedies to creatures. Now, everything exists in my will, and the one who must live in it, must enclose all creatures, so as to go through all my acts again and place on them another beautiful divine shade, taken from my will, to give me the requital of what I did. Only the one who lives in my will can give me this requital, and I await her as the means to be able to place the divine will in communication with the human, and to give her the goods it contains. I want the creature as the intermediary who, going through the same path which my humanity covered in my will, may open the door of the kingdom of my will, which had been closed by the human will. Therefore, your mission is great, and it takes sacrifice and great attention. Then, I was feeling immersed in the supreme volition, and Jesus continued, "My daughter, my will is everything and contains everything, and then, it is beginning, means and end of man. This is why, in creating him, I did not give him any law, nor did I institute sacraments, but I gave man my will alone. Because, as he would find himself in the beginning of it, it would be more than sufficient so that he might find all the means to reach, not a low sanctity, but the height of the divine sanctity. And therefore find himself in the port of his end. This means that man was to need nothing but my will alone, in which he was to find everything in a surprising, admirable and easy way, to render himself holy and happy in time and eternity. And if I gave him a law, after centuries and centuries of creation, it was because man had lost his beginning, and therefore he had lost the means and the end. So, the law was not beginning, but means. But in seeing that, with all my law, man was getting lost, in coming upon earth I instituted the sacraments as stronger and more powerful means to save him. But, how many abuses, how many profanations! How many use the law and the very sacraments to sin more and to fall into hell, while with my will alone, which is beginning, means and end, the soul places herself in safety, she rises to divine sanctity. She reaches, in a complete way, the purpose for which she was created, and there is not a shadow of danger that she might offend me. So, the safest way is only my will, the very sacraments. If they are not received in order with my will, can serve as means of condemnation and of ruin. This is why I inculcate my will so much, because, the soul being in her beginning, the means will be favorable to her, and she will receive the fruits which they contain. On the other hand, without it, the sacraments themselves may be a poison for her, which may lead her to eternal death. v1. 3.19.26 I write only to obey and to fulfill the will of God alone. I was thinking to myself, my always lovable Jesus tells me many times that I must be the copy of my celestial Mama, and therefore embrace everything and make up for all, to be able to impetrate the longed for fiat, just as the sovereign queen impetrated the longed for Redeemer. But how can I do this? She was holy, conceived 6. Without original sin. I, on the other hand, am one of the littlest and poorest creatures, conceived with original sin, like all the children of Adam, full of miseries and weaknesses. How, then, shall I be able to follow the flights of the Sovereign Lady in the divine volition? In order to impetrate upon the earth the so longed for fiat, which my sweet Jesus wants to reign,